Real Bookie, I'm glad to see you here. Welcome to this episode of the Road to the Super Bowl series. On this one, you'll learn about the NFC East. The first team for this video is the Dallas Cowboys. There is arguably no franchise in the National Football League more commonly known than the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas came to the National Football League as an expansion team back in 1960. AT&T Stadium is home to the Dallas Cowboys. From 1960 until 1971, the Cowboys played at the Cotton Bowl. Then from 1971 until the 2008 season, it was Texas Stadium. Now, since 2009, the Cowboys are at AT&T Stadium. Located in Arlington, Texas, is a retractable roof stadium commonly known as Jerry World for longtime owner Jerry Jones, or the Death Star. Ground broke for the $1.3 billion project in 2005, and first game played was in 2009. The franchise originally started as the Dallas Steers, then moved to the Dallas Rangers. The organization later announced they would be the Cowboys to make sure they did not get confused with the Dallas Rangers. Historical records for the Dallas Cowboys. Head coach Tom Landry went 250, 162, and 6 in his career. The Cowboys hold the record for the most consecutive winning seasons. They did that for 20 seasons from 1966 to 1985. Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith are all in the history books and known as some of the best players in all of the league. Super Bowl titles for the Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have won 5 Super Bowl titles. Their first one was in 1971 at Super Bowl VI. Outside of the Super Bowl titles, the Cowboys have 10 conference championships. Dallas has won their division 24 times in team history. Famous quarterbacks for the Dallas Cowboys. Troy Aikman is first on the list with 165 games started. In those games, he won a franchise-best 94. Second, Tony Romo with 156 starts. He won 61% of his games with 78 wins. Third is Roger Staubach with 114 starts and 85 wins. That's the best winning percentage in franchise history. Current quarterback Dak Prescott is currently 4th on the list for most starts in franchise history. Final Dallas Cowboy tidbits. The Dallas Cowboys became the first sports team to be valued at $4 billion, according to Forbes. The Cowboys were the most valuable sports team in the world. That was in 2015. Later in 2018, the Cowboys became the first franchise to be valued at $5 billion. The Cowboys made Forbes' list of most valued NFL teams for the 12th straight year. The Cowboys have a mascot whose name is Rowdy. The next team is the New York Giants. One of 2 teams that reside in the Big Apple is the Giants. The franchise has been around for nearly 100 years, playing its first season of professional football in 1925. MetLife Stadium is home to the New York Giants. The New York Giants have made 6 venues their home. The first location was Polo Grounds that served the Giants for 30 seasons. Then was the time to move to Yankee Stadium from 1956 to 1973. Next, the Giants moved to Yale Bowl for a season, Shea Stadium for a season before heading to Giant Stadium in 1976. Giant Stadium was the home of the Giants until 2009. In 2010, MetLife Stadium opened up, and the Giants and Jet both arrived at their new home. When it was built, it was the most expensive stadium in the United States. Why the Giants and who are they? In 1937, they changed their name to the New York Giants. There have been several stories as to why and who they named the Giants, but simply put, they were called the Giants because they got their name from the all-giant buildings that make up New York City. Historical records for the New York Giants. Heading into the 2023 season, the New York Giants had 715 franchise wins and 25 in the postseason. Eli Manning with 366 career passing touchdowns is the franchise record. It is in the top 10 in the NFL today. Lawrence Taylor and Michael Strahan are both in the record books for sacks and sit in the top 10 in career sacks. Tiki Barber finished his career with over 10,000 rushing yards and another 5,183 receiving yards, making him one of the best offensive players of all time for New York. Super Bowl titles for the Giants. The Giants have won 8 league championships, and they have been in the postseason for 33 seasons. New York had a run in the early 2000s where they made the postseason 6 seasons out of 9 years. Famous quarterbacks for the New York Giants. Eli Manning holds all the records for the Giants. In fact, his 4,895 completions, 8,100 attempts, 57,023 yards, 366 touchdowns, and 244 led them all. Phil Simms is next on the list as he finished with 1 touchdown shy of 200 in his career. The other 2 guys on the list with more than 100 passing touchdowns are the signal caller for the Giants were Charlie Corley and Frank Tankerton. Other guys on the list include Kerry Collins, Y.A. Tittle, and the most recent quarterback Daniel Jones. Jones needs 22 passing touchdowns to become 6th on the franchise list. New York Giants Hall of Famers. The New York Giants have the 2nd most members in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It is quite a task to keep up with all the names on the list. The first 2 inducted were Tim Mara and Mel Hine. A few notable names over the years for the Giants include Frank Tankerton in 1986, Lawrence Taylor in 1999, Bill Parcells in 2013, Michael Strahan in 2014, and the most recent inductee into the Hall of Fame was former general manager George Young. He went in during the 2020 season. Next up, we have info about the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have been around since 1933, have formed one of the most intense fan bases in all professional sports. Let's take a look at some of the history of the Eagles that you might not know. The Philadelphia Eagles have called 6 locations their home over the years. When the organization started, it used Baker Bowl for its first 3 seasons. After that, the Eagles went over to Philadelphia Municipal Stadium. That did not last long before moving to Shrine Park, another short stay before moving to Franklin Field in 1958. Finally, in 1971, Veterans Stadium, also the home of the Philadelphia Phillies, was their new home. In 2002, the Eagles finally finished there and moved into their new location at Lincoln Financial Field. Why the Eagles and who are they? Bert Bell was the founder of the franchise back in 1933. They started as Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. The team went out of commission and the owner then founded the Eagles. The story is that Bell decided the team strictly on his own. The word is he looked up in the sky and there was a billboard with an eagle on it, and that's how he decided what the name would be for the team. Super Bowl titles for the Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have 4 league championships, but 3 of them came before the merger of the AFL-NFL. Philadelphia has just 1 Super Bowl title, and that was won on Super Bowl 52. Doug Peterson was the head coach and Nick Foles was the starting quarterback. Foles won the Super Bowl MVP with 373 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in the win. Philadelphia has won 5 conference championships. The Eagles have 16 divisional championships. The team has been to the postseason for 29 seasons. Recently, the Eagles have made the postseason in 5 out of the last 6 seasons. Famous quarterbacks for the Philadelphia Eagles. The list of the Philadelphia Eagles quarterbacks is pretty impressive. The Eagles have made some talented names that have been the starter for over years. The most successful quarterback in Eagles history was Donovan McNabb with 92 wins in his career. Ron Jaworski is second with 69 wins, while Randall Cunningham won 63 games. Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Famers. The Eagles currently have 22 players and 3 coaches and executives in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 13 of those went into different teams but spent some time with the Eagles. The very first player to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame for the Eagles was a halfback, Steve Van Buren. He played from 1944 to 1951 and was inducted in 1965. In the 1970s, Pete Fios was inducted in 1970. Fios played with Philadelphia from 1947 to 1955. The 4 most recent Eagle players inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame were offensive tackle Bob Brown, defensive edge Reggie White, safety Brian Dawkins, and wide receiver Harold Carmichael. Final Philadelphia Eagle tidbits. The Philadelphia Eagles are known for being a part of the first game ever to see on television. NBC sent an 8-man crew to Brooklyn to see them take out the Brooklyn Football Dodgers. The 1943 team, the Eagles and the Steelers, merged their team. This was due to World War II. The Eagles are also known as the only team to ever beat Vince Lombardi and his Packers twice in the postseason. We have arrived at the last team for our video, the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders certainly have an interesting history within their 91 years of professional football. The Commanders started as the Washington Redskins and had quite the controversy over the years to change their name. The team has played over 1,000 games and is just one of the 5 teams in the National Football League with over 600 wins. Let's take a look at some important history when it comes to the Washington Commanders. FedEx Field is home to the Washington Commanders. The Washington franchise started their games back in 1932 at Braves Field. They spent 1 season there before moving to Fenway Park for the 1933 to 1936 seasons. That's when they finally found a place they could call home, Griffith Stadium. They played at Griffith Stadium from 1937 to 1960. Then the franchise moved to the beautiful Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium and called that home until 1966. Finally, FedEx Field was built, and from the 1997 season on, that's where the organization has played. As many know, the organization started as Washington Redskins. In recent years, that has turned to controversy, only to see them change to the Commanders. Historical records for the Washington Commanders. Joe Gibbs was one of the most successful head coaches in the organization with over 600 wins and 23 more in the postseason. Joe Theismann is the name that many remember for his time as the signal caller. Art Monk was an elite receiver for Washington. Super Bowl titles for the Commanders. The franchise has won 5 league championships. The first 2 were before the merger. Heading into the 2023 season, Washington has reached the postseason 25 times. The best runs for the franchise came at 1971 through 1976, and then again in 1982 through 1987, where they reached the postseason 5 out of 6 seasons. Famous quarterbacks for the Washington Commanders. There are 5 quarterbacks that most Washington football fans are familiar with. Each of those 5 quarterbacks made a mark on the franchise with their success on the field. The first name, and the leader in passing yards, is Joe Theismann. Theismann leads the franchise with 25,206 passing yards. After that is Sonny Jurgensen, has 22,585. Sammy Baugh with over 21,000, while Kirk Cousins and Mark Rypien round out the top 5. Washington Commander Hall of Famers. The Washington Commanders organization has 15 players in the Hall of Fame. There are 10 others that spent some time with the organization in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They have 7 guys in management as well. Final Washington Commander tidbits. The Washington Commanders added a new mascot when they went from the Redskins to the Commanders. Mayor Tuddy is a hog, which signifies the offensive line that dominated the league in the 1980s and 90s. The Commanders have the oldest marching band in the National Football League. They have been around since 1937. They play Hail to the Commanders after each touchdown is scored at home. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. Remember to like and subscribe to get our newest videos as soon as they come out.